Jacob Fatu defies the Usos. Raw shock, Fatu says no. Usos left stunned. Seth Rollins' chaos begins. Fatu breaks the rules. What happens when the most dangerous man in the room suddenly refuses to follow orders? And what if the moment everyone thought would strengthen a family ended up exposing cracks that have been growing for months? If you watched Raw, then you already know something felt different. Not just surprising. Different. Because for years, we've been conditioned to expect one thing whenever members of these powerful wrestling families stand together: loyalty, obedience, and unity. Whether it's for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, the expectation is always the same. When the family calls, you answer. But this week, Jacob Fatu had other ideas. And honestly, the more you think about it, the more fascinating this entire situation becomes. At first glance, it looked simple. The Usos had a problem, and that problem was Seth Rollins. Not exactly a small problem, by the way. Trying to deal with Seth Rollins is like trying to stop a tornado with a folding chair. You might feel brave for a few seconds, but eventually reality catches up with you. Rollins has been causing chaos everywhere he goes. Every conversation he enters becomes a mind game. Every rivalry becomes personal. Every conflict somehow gets bigger than it was supposed to be. So naturally, when tensions started rising, it felt like the perfect moment for Jacob Fatu to step in. Fans expected it. The commentators expected it. The Usos probably expected it. The entire arena seemed convinced that this was heading in one direction. Then something happened that nobody saw coming. Jacob Fatu refused. Just like that. No dramatic speech. No long explanation. No emotional breakdown. Just a simple act of defiance. And somehow that made it even more powerful. You could almost feel the confusion spreading through the crowd. Wait. Did that really just happen? Did Jacob Fatu seriously refuse to do what everyone expected him to do? The answer was yes. And suddenly the entire story changed. You know what's funny? Sometimes the biggest moments in wrestling aren't the ones with explosions, surprise returns, or championship victories. Sometimes it's one person saying no. That's it. One word. One decision. One moment. Yet that single choice can completely change the direction of multiple storylines at once. That's exactly what happened here. Because the second Jacob Fatu refused to get involved, people immediately started asking questions. Why? What changed? What's he thinking? Is this about Seth Rollins? Is this about the Usos? Is this about something much bigger? And that's where things get interesting. Because Jacob Fatu has never exactly been known for following anyone else's rules. Let's be honest. Trying to control Jacob Fatu is kind of like trying to keep a volcano on a leash. Technically, you can try. Good luck with that. His entire presence has always been built around unpredictability. The moment you think you've figured him out, he does something that reminds you why people fear him in the first place. That's what made this Raw segment so compelling. It wasn't just about refusing an order. It was about identity. Who exactly is Jacob Fatu? Is he simply another member of a larger family structure? Or is he something else entirely? Someone who refuses to be used as a weapon whenever someone else decides it's convenient? The crowd seemed divided. Some fans immediately saw him as a rebel. Others saw him as selfish. Some viewed the moment as strength. Others viewed it as betrayal. And honestly, that's what makes great wrestling. When people leave a segment arguing about motivations instead of simply talking about moves and punches, you've created something memorable. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins was standing right in the middle of all this chaos. And you know Seth. Nobody enjoys confusion more than Seth Rollins. The man practically survives on chaos. If confusion were a championship belt, Seth would have held it for 10 straight years. So while everyone else was trying to process what happened, you could almost imagine Rollins enjoying every second of it. Because division creates opportunity, and opportunity is where Seth thrives. Think about it. The Usos wanted unity. Instead, they got uncertainty. They wanted support. Instead, they got resistance. They wanted control. Instead, they got questions. A lot of questions. And those questions aren't going away anytime soon. In fact, they're only getting louder. What happens next? Does Jacob Fatu explain himself? Does he owe anyone an explanation? Do the Usos confront him directly? Do they try to repair the relationship? Or does this become the beginning of a much larger conflict? That's the mystery, and wrestling fans love mysteries. We pretend we hate waiting. We complain online. We post theories. We create fantasy booking scenarios at 3 o'clock in the morning. Don't act innocent. We've all done it. But secretly, we love the anticipation. We love not knowing. And right now, nobody truly knows where this story is heading. One possibility is that Jacob Fatu simply wants independence. That would make sense. After all, powerful competitors eventually reach a point where they stop wanting to fight other people's battles. Maybe that's what happened here. Maybe he looked at the situation and decided it wasn't his problem. Another possibility? This was personal. Maybe there are deeper issues beneath the surface. Maybe tensions have been building behind closed doors for much longer than anyone realizes. Maybe this wasn't a spontaneous decision at all. Maybe this was the moment those frustrations finally exploded into public view. And then there's the possibility that nobody is talking about enough. What if Jacob Fatu sees something everyone else doesn't? What if he understands that attacking Seth Rollins would only play directly into Seth's hands? That would be a fascinating twist because Seth's greatest weapon has never been his athletic ability. It's manipulation. He gets inside people's heads. He makes them emotional. He makes them react. Then he benefits from the consequences. Maybe Jacob refused because he recognized the trap. Maybe he saw the bigger picture. Or maybe I'm overthinking everything and he's just tired of people telling him what to do. Honestly, that explanation might be just as believable. Either way, the reaction from fans has been incredible. Social media immediately exploded. People started picking sides. Theories appeared everywhere. Predictions started flying. Some fans think this is leading toward a massive family conflict. Others think it's setting up an even bigger alliance. A few people somehow turned it into 17 completely unrelated conspiracy theories because wrestling fans can connect anything to anything. Someone could accidentally sneeze during a backstage segment and half the internet would be convinced it was teasing a WrestleMania main event. That's just how this works. But beneath all the speculation, one fact remains. Jacob Fatu became the most talked about person on Raw because he refused to do something. Think about how impressive that is. No championship win. No shocking attack. No giant stunt. Just character.